Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm Larry Gardner here in Adairsville, Georgia, and I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend himself, our fabulous producer, Wayne Ritenour. You can find us all at ATL Prime Sports on Facebook, Twitter. I'm going to still call it Twitter, even though they label it as X.
Everybody does.
Instagram. Yeah, for real. Instagram, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Our own individual Twitter handles, of course, the show at ATL Prime Sports. For our JJ, who's in Lilburn, he's on assignment tonight at JJ Get You One. For our producer, Wayne, is at RWY Jr. At Todd Corder, who is out with friends tonight. He is at Corder Todd. And myself at LG, the number 4, Real Though. Wayne, how are you doing, my friend?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I missed the last Tigers basketball game because of the snow. They still had the game, and they were encouraging people to go if they could. But, man, it was a lot of snow and a lot of ice, and I just didn't feel like risking it. But Memphis has some games coming up here. They've got an away game at Temple, and then I believe they travel south to Charlotte. So they'll be playing the 49ers before they're back home. And the other Tiger team is now ranked number 1, and they have to face a newly ranked Georgia team. And I got to tell you, I watched some of that Georgia game, the last one that they won, and I got to tell you that court kind of looks like a Diet Coke can.
You're not the first person to say that. No,
okay, well, they need to get a sponsorship deal going.
Hey, they could,
Yeah.
but
well, how have things been with you, man?
Man, everything has been well up in our area. I appreciate you asking. Kids doing well, getting back into the swing of things after being out for not only the holiday season, but then, of course, for their snow weekend. You know, the older folks used to say when I was growing up, the old wise tale was if the snow stayed on the ground 3 days or longer, there was going to be some more coming right behind it. And and it did. It stayed on about 4 or 5 days. There's some places that still got some ice that hasn't melted. So it wouldn't shock me at all to see some more snow around the horizon here in the Southeast. And I did want to ask you something, too, pertaining to your Memphis Tigers, more so on the football side of things, though, Wayne. I was thinking about it the other day. Do they still call the stadium that the football team plays in, they still call it the Liberty Bowl around the locals?
Yeah, there's no way you're going to get us to stop calling that the Liberty Bowl. It'll always be the Liberty Bowl, and whenever anybody here refers to it, they're going to call it the Liberty Bowl. Now, as time progresses, if Simmons Bank stays around for the next 40 years, they might start calling it the Simmons Liberty Bowl Bank. I don't know what it is, but I do appreciate them getting involved because they're doing some major improvements, and I expect to have a stadium that will rival the South Carolina Gamecock Stadium. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
All right. Looking to try to rival something that looks like Williams-Brice over there in Columbia, South Carolina. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Guys, what's on tap for today's show? We're going to talk a little Hawks basketball. I know we don't talk a lot of Hawks on the show from time to time, but we're going to talk about it because they're relevant. Of course, the Falcons are done. Braves are right around the corner. Trae Young's doing Trae Young things. So we're going to give the Hawks a little love tonight as they beat the Suns last night, and Trae just absolutely having a wonderful lights-out performance. We're going to talk about some NFL head coaching vacancies that are on the horizon with some news and notes that have been dropping here over the last few days. And, of course, we're going to preview and pick the best football games in our world-renowned, award-winning segment, the Pick Six. And we'll kick this puppy off, starting off with the NFL. I'm not going to call it a hot stove because that's a baseball topic, but, you know, Black Monday was only just a few days ago where a lot of the head coaches are getting the axe, and a lot of them are getting, you know, some time is actually being transpired before they're getting fired. It's not the day after, you know, it's a few days going down the pipeline before they're getting fired or whatnot. And we've heard some things, and we'll talk about one that actually got a job that came open and got filled relatively quickly, Wayne, with the New England Patriots hiring Mike Vrabel, the old Tennessee Titans head coach. You know, what do you think about that move? Do you think that that's a pretty good move for the Patriots, or do you think that they waited or they jumped the gun and didn't wait long enough?
I think they did fine choosing early. I think that's the best way to go because then you know what you got and you can move forward. But talking about knowing what you got or knowing what you want, I wish some of these teams would just decide what do they want in a head coach, because it seems like they get somebody who, you know, could be considered successful by some metrics, but they just don't keep them. And I don't know if it's because they're more interested in a coach that's going to give in to the players' needs, or are they going to be the type of coach that answers to the ownership, you know?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both of that, Wayne. I think what you're running into really is the impatience from owners to win now. you know, when we were coming up, and I hate to sound like the old guy sitting on the porch, here we coming up. But when we were coming along, you know, teams gave coaches time to work through challenges. You know, and a perfect example of that is our own TC, who loves his Detroit Lions. And look at what Dan Campbell did. You know, he won 3 games his first season, and you know, 4 years down the road, here he is, the #1 seed in the NFC, all because the Detroit ownership group was patient enough to let him work through roster challenges, work through getting out of the old coaching system, working through all of the old talent and getting new talent in, and going through some drafts and grading and building your own team. You know, most coaches nowadays, if you don't get where they want you to immediately, they don't give you time, not only because you're trying to play your first season and really your first 2 seasons with the talent that was from the coaches regime that would pass. You know, you're trying to get people on your team that you didn't pick. So you're trying to literally take a square peg and fit it into a round hole. And I don't know, you don't get that overnight success. And, you know, it's almost like the ownership group is looking at the coach standing in front of the microwave yelling, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
Yeah.
And it's doing as best as it possibly can. But, you know, I'm with you there. And I kind of figure, you know, the Patriots have a relationship with Mike Vrabel, him being there and played there.
Yeah.
He knows New England upside down and inside out. So him being the guy that he is, he's a player's coach. I think he's going to do well there, but they've got to give him time to get the players there and get a scheme there and get, you know, you can't build a house without any tools in the shed. And you got to get you some tools there to be able to build that program. Well, not only do the Patriots have some openings available, the Bears have has a head coaching job available. The Cowboys, the Jaguars, the Vegas Raiders, the New Orleans Saints, and the New York Football Jets. And the highest, I guess you would say, the most notariable job opening on that series is down there with a young man by the name of Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones has had a conversation that ESPN and Fox Sports have both already reported that he has made a phone call to the current head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, Deion Sanders. Now, Wayne, tell the truth. Would Deion be a good fit as a Dallas Cowboy head coach?
I think Deion Sanders would be a good fit as a head coach anywhere, because he has this aspect of head coach that I kind of think you want, and that's like a lead singer in a rock band. Mm-hmm. You want him to be somewhat you know, bravado and out there and talking big and everything else, but you also want him to be good. So I don't mind some of the antics or some of the things that he does and even did down at Jackson State, because that's the type of head coach that I think you want, is somebody that's willing to step out there and, you know, kind of like a Jerry Glanville. I always thought he was a pretty decent coach because of that showmanship and everything. But I also think he has a lot of skills as far as being a player in the NFL and understanding the game from a coaching standpoint. And he's had plenty of, I hesitate to call them stepping stones because they're pretty big schools, you know, within the league that they're in. But he's moved up in a way that encourages me to think he'll be a good head coach anywhere.
No, I agree with you. You know, he's coached at the high school level. He's coached at a D2 HBCU college level. He's coached now at a Power 5 college level. So he's worked his way up, and he's been successful every stop he's been in. It's not a bad idea because, A, he's played there.
Yeah.
B, he's won a Super Bowl there. C, he knows Jerry Jones and what Jerry's expectations are. And if anybody could work with Jerry, Deion could.
Yeah.
I don't know if the NFL world is ready for Deion Sanders as a head coach of an NFL football team, but not only an NFL football team, but America's team.
Yeah.
You know, he's already catching slack for everything that he's done at Colorado, but look at what he's been able to do, from 1 win to bowl eligible in 2 seasons. They put a note out today that the administration showed for the first time in the program's history that the football team has a 3.0 GPA or higher, which means he is building the character of those men to be men where if they do go if they do go pro, then of course they're going to have the skill set to be able to do so. But if they don't go pro, they're going to have the intelligence level to be able to secure good jobs and then be good men, be good husbands, be good fathers, and things of that nature. So Deion is a coach that's going to be a man that leads men. And I think that's exactly what Jerry needs at this point in time, because he's gone through retread after retread after retread after retread. And when you ain't been to the Super Bowl since I was in high school, that's a problem.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that I also think that Jerry Jones kind of gets rid of coaches for sometimes the wrong reasons. Like he's listening to the players more, but like you said, it has to be kind of a balance in that.
Yeah, no doubt. It does have to be a balance. And I think Deion would command, like you said earlier, he would command the bravado. Yeah. I think his personality is almost, for lack of a better term, larger than life. But he's already said that the only way he would even entertain coaching at the NFL level is if he can coach not one, but both of his sons.
Yeah.
So that means
it's a recruiting tool.
Well, not only that, but let's look at what the Cowboys already have in place. Yeah. Would you rather have Dak Prescott or would you rather have Shedeur Sanders? And for all the slack that Dak takes, he's done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
As the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, having to go through offensive coordinators, through having to go through different head coaches, and he still, did the best he could with the weapons he's got. I don't know if Jerry would be willing to pull a trade that would dangle Dak Prescott out to any team, and there are several teams that could use a good quarterback of Dak's prowess, for lack of a better term. I mean, think about if Dak was in L.A. or Las Vegas now, for the Raiders. What he could do there. What if he was in New Orleans with the Saints? There's things he could do there. So you got to figure out if that's something that you're willing to do. Shedeur was already at a Dallas Mavericks game just last night. So I think they're playing the cards a little bit to the social media era and to the masses, trying to build up this head of steam.
It'll sell tickets, that's for sure.
Oh, man, anywhere Deion walks into, it will sell tickets. To go through the other openings that we've talked about for Jacksonville, Doug Peterson, he did get fired after, I think he was there for 3, maybe 4 seasons with the Jaguars. Antonio Pierce let go there as the Raiders head coach, Dennis Allen, of course, and then, of course, Robert Saleh for the Jets, who was the first head coach in this season to be able to be let go, which, to mention that, to throw a little Falcons tie into that, the Falcons did interview Robert Saleh as the defensive coordinator for the defensive coordinator position that was open. For those of you who haven't heard, the Atlanta Falcons did fire defensive coordinator Jimmy Lake over the. We're not going to call it the failure. We're just calling it the
fiasco,
not meeting the standard.
For
what you would expect for an NFL defense on this season.
Yeah. So does Robert Saleh know anything about edge rush?
He knows a little bit about edge rush and a little bit about linebacker rush as well, having the likes of Nick Bosa and Patrick Willis at his time in San Francisco, not to mention the rushers he had there in his couple of years with the Jets. So who knows what the future may hold, but the Atlanta Falcons do have a defensive coordinator and a defensive line position opening, and they're doing interviews now to be able to fill those positions. It's going to take some time. I think that there will at least be one more vacancy to pop up, maybe even 2 as time progresses. But just as well as I do, the NFL keeps you engaged throughout the entire offseason, the playoffs, the offseason, the free agency, the draft. You're back in it again with Hard Knocks, training camp, and then you're right back at the beginning of the opening season yet again of another season. So it'll be the 25 kickoff will be before you know it, you'll blink and they'll be right there. So.
Well, I've got basketball and upcoming stock car racing to keep me entertained and keep my head from getting cluttered up with all this off-season talk or shenanigans. So I'll start the new season off fresh. I won't have to deal with all the drama that happened.
Indeed, my guy. Indeed. And there's a lot of good college basketball to come up. I know we don't get a chance to chit-chat college basketball. One day we will get a good what I call a pre-March Madness show where we talk about some of the things that are going on.
I think they've got like 16 games in now. And have you filled out your bracket yet?
No, I haven't filled out my bracket yet.
Somebody has. I guarantee you, somebody's got their bracket all filled out.
I'm sure, and it's been a lot. And I'm tell you, man, listen, if you're a college basketball fan, it used to be where we were growing up, and I hate to keep throwing those things back in, but when I was growing up, it was all about the Big East, the Big Ten, and the ACC.
Definitely,
all that stuff. For right now, is the SEC is dominating all the talks.
Yeah,
of what basketball is with college basketball now. And we talked about Alabama going down. You're seeing Auburn come back up. So
Tennessee dropped, and then you've got Georgia and Ole Miss coming up, and Mississippi State's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So it used to be the only thing you'd hear about in college basketball, SEC, was Kentucky and sometimes Florida if they had a few good players.
Yep.
Like Mike Miller. When Mike Miller was there, that was a good time for Gators basketball.
Yep. Most people, you can remember the back-to-back title teams of Billy Donovan with Al Horford and Joakim Noah and that crew that did some things there in Gainesville. But you're absolutely right. It's amazing to see for me from this vantage point how just recruiting wise, I don't know if it's an NIL thing or if it's the opportunity where people get swarmed in from football and say, well, hey, you got enough talent here. You could have a good basketball program too.
Yeah.
And now you got those that usually dominate in football, the Alabamas, the Auburns, the Tennessees, the Floridas, the Kentuckys every now and again. And I know Kentucky don't dominate in football, but they have been doing well since Mike Stoops has been head coach. You get to see those where you don't get to see the traditional blue bloods like your Dukes, your North Carolinas, your Arizonas, which, those teams are still going to always make noise come March. So looking forward to seeing what's going on with the college basketball season. There's a lot of good games up, and trust me, you might want to start paying attention now because March will be here.
Yeah.
For it. So that segues us right into some NBA talk with the Atlanta Hawks. Our Atlanta Hawks here locally beat the Phoenix Suns 122-117 behind Trae Young and his 43 points. He also had some help from Onyeka Okongwu off the bench, who recorded the first ever in the history of the Atlanta Hawks, a 2020 game off the bench. Wayne, in the Eastern Conference, best team is the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are 34-4.
No, you know what? If you're asking me, I would say they're not the best team. They're just ranked number one right now. Because I would put Boston up there as number one, as the best team. That's just me talking, though.
No, you're good. You're good. And the Celtics are legit. But check this out. The Cavaliers have only lost 4 games all season long, and 2 of those losses have been to the Atlanta Hawks.
Dang.
Trae Young continues to do Trae Young things. He is absolutely having the best season of his career. He is engaged. He's got talented people all the way around him, whether you talk about the great barrier thief himself, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, who's coming into his own, the rookie Zach Ricochet, who is developing at a slow process or a slow pace on purpose. Coach Quinn Snyder has said that on record. He is trying to bring him along slowly. The Hawks are actually making some noise. I know last I checked, I think they were 8th in the Eastern Conference, maybe 9th.
Yeah, and they're above 500 now as well.
Yes, and they're absolutely above 500. My question to you, Wayne, is will this be the year that the Hawks finally get out of the play-in and actually make one of the top 6 spots in the playoff running?
I don't think there's anything stopping them from doing it other than their mistakes or somebody figuring out a magical formula to get around them. But they've got the talent there and the coaching staff to do it. So I don't think it's outrageous to think they could.
The thing that puzzles me about this team, Wayne, is it's really a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of team. You can go beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, who've only lost 4 times, and beat them twice. You can beat the Celtics in Boston with a depleted roster. You can beat the Knicks at home or on the road. You can beat Milwaukee, but then you turn around and you lose to the likes of the Chicago Bulls. You lose to the Washington Wizards. You lose to the teams that you're supposed to beat, and then you beat the teams that you're supposed to lose to.
You also got to pay attention to those critical wins and losses, because sometimes a loss is not as bad if it's, like some team that's outside of your league or outside of your division. But losing to the Chicago Bulls is kind of messing them up, because those two are right there on that cutoff line at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Hawks are on the road in the United Center playing the Chicago Bulls tonight with a very depleted roster. There are 9 Hawks listed on the injury report, Trae Young being one of them. He got a contusion last night in the contest against the Phoenix Suns, so he will not be playing tonight. I think that's really just a measure of them trying to get the boys some rest on a back-to-back on a travel night as well, getting ready to go into this long road trip. But that being said, the Hawks have put themselves in a position to where they can make some noise in the Eastern Conference, but you got to get a level of consistency somewhere, and you can't just depend on Trae Young to be Superman every night. You got to continue to get the effort that you've been getting from DeAndre Hunter off the bench, who is solidifying his 6th Man of the Year campaign every opportunity he gets. Jalen Johnson is developing into an all-star and coming into his own, and we cannot undervalue the addition of what Dyson Daniels has done for this team, improving them defensively on all areas. But not only that, helping create a culture and an attitude of defense. Everybody wanted to crucify Trae Young and his lack of being able to play defense on the ball. And you look at Trae, and he's running all over the floor trying to guard people and ratcheting up his intensity on the defensive end of the floor. And you can look at it as what you want to, is Trae maturing and getting a year older in his game. But anytime you got a man on your team averaging 4 to 5 steals a game and showing you how important it is to play defense all the time, that can only be infectious, and you're seeing it infect the Hawks team now. Wayne, here's the deal. Do the Hawks make a move to try to strengthen this team before the trade deadline?
They have to. You can't just have a depleted team like this all the time. I mean, it looks good on paper, I guess, when you have a road game with a depleted team and you win, but you can't expect that Leighton to keep striking.
No doubt. And one of the biggest glaring holes to me on this team is having a backup point guard that can help Trae Young get some rest when need be, because he's logging 38, 39, 40 minutes a game, and that's not gonna fly with the I won't call him an illness, but he's been dinged up all year long, dealing with a strained Achilles, a strained heel, strained foot. So he's been dealing with a lot of different illnesses and ailments and all of those kinds of things. I had to get the word right. Ailments that he's been dealing with. So, kudos for what Atlanta's been able to do. I'm excited to see what what noise they make. I hope they make a move for at least one more backup point guard, if not another front court mate, to get them some depth behind both Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu. But I would love to see them make some noise in the playoffs and pack out State Farm Arena and really make some noise,
Yeah.
All right. Any other points you want to make about the Hawks?
Not necessarily.
Right.
As far as the Grizzlies go, they're just hanging in there. I think they're not going to have any problem making the playoffs. I'd like to see what they're going to do once they get in the playoffs. And as time goes on, we'll get more Zach Edey on the court as well.
Yeah, Zach he's had himself a well of a rookie campaign, and I think one of the things with the Grizzlies is they got Ja healthy.
Yeah, they're pacing Zach Edey pretty well too. They're not just throwing him out there. And you're right about I can't think of his name. John Morant. He definitely needs to stay healthy, because that one season that they he got hurt for the last game or last 2 or 3 games before they could get into the final, and they didn't play well at all without him. Of course, it's a different group around him. I think it's a different coach back then.
Yeah, and it was, and not to mention that, but Zach Edey's got somebody that is well versed, a borderline all-star in Jaren Jackson Jr. that he can learn behind, can show him the ropes, and he doesn't back down. He's a big kid, and one thing I always teach when it comes to basketball coaching, even at a high school level and even at a middle school level, one thing you can't teach is size.
Right.
Either you got it or you don't, and they don't grow 7'3" people on trees, So
there's no such
that element is good.
There's no such thing as the University of Height.
No, not at all.
I went in at 5'9" and I graduated at 6'4".
Man, it'd be people still going to school to this day trying to get that degree. Absolutely. Well, that being said, guys, that'll wrap up our NBA segment. We're going to jump right into our famous pick six. We pick six of the best football games from college and pro. Usually, all the big game is coming down on Monday night, and we know it. And me being a Miami fan, I hope they both lose, but we'll talk about that later. Well, we picked six of the best football games from college and pro. The spreads are from today, right now, per ESPNBet.com. And we are going to start with the national championship game. The Ohio State Buckeyes, the number 8 seed in the tournament at 13-2 against the number 7 Notre Dame Fighting Irish, 14-1. Ohio State is a favorite by 8 points. The over-under is 45.5. This game is Monday night, 7:30 on ESPN, right here in Atlanta, Georgia, at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Wayne, what say you?
Well, I am originally from Alabama. Most of my family's from Alabama, and a majority of them are Alabama fans, and they have gotten in my ear and let me know that I cannot pick Notre Dame. I can also never pick Penn State. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Ohio State just based on them getting on me, and I don't want to get called out at the next reunion if I don't.
No, listen, I completely understand what you're saying. Notre Dame has played lights out this tournament, and their defense is the reason they have gotten to where they have gotten to. They have been able to stymie every team that they have played in this playoff. It didn't matter how potent the offense was. Penn State had a potent offense. Georgia had a potent offense. And Notre Dame shut both of them down to where they were under 28 points.
Yeah.
That's huge to me because it tells me that no matter how widespread or how wide open the offense is, you're going to be able to put people in predicaments to make life miserable for them. And the physicality of this game is going to be huge. That over-under, if I was picking on that, I'd definitely take the under. But I'm going to tell you why I'm taking Notre Dame, and I can't believe it. I'm going to say it, but I'm going to take Notre Dame. Ohio State's been playing lights out on the offensive side of the ball. Will Howard and Jeremiah Smith has been able to do just amazing things, man. They've been able to connect on all kind of ways. And even Ohio State's defense have been coming up here as of late. And we saw what they were able to do against Texas, even though they kind of let Texas back into the game before pulling away late and winning it in OT, of course. Ohio State and Will Howard has been able to do some magical things ever since that loss that they had to Michigan. And they've been on a run since then. I just don't think this game is going to get too separated to where Ohio State is going to get over an 8-point lead. I mean, they may, but I don't think it's going to finish that way. So I'm going to take the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to cover. I think Ohio State wins.
Yeah.
I think the Fighting Irish covers that 8-point spread.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
What?
JJ? Go ahead.
No, you were going to tell what JJ and TC. I'm interested to hear what they got.
Yep. JJ is actually taking Ohio State covering.
All right.
As TC is doing the same, he's also going with Ohio State to cover. So they both think Ohio State's going to blow this team out.
Well, we really should be taking some of your advice because you are in the lead right now. So we may be picking with something other than our brains at this point.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Hey, Wayne, you did well. You had the week of the lifetime last week. You went 5-1 last week.
Well, I wish I could have gone 6-0, but I should have listened to the Minnesota fans who told me ahead of time, Minnesota will always let you down. So I should have not picked them. But
no, for me, in my head, I said I should have paid attention to the script. You know, the powers that be always say there's a script that they already got that they're going to have, who they're going to have in the Super Bowl. And the Rams winning was part of the script because of what's going on with the LA Fires. And I didn't even think about none of that at all because,
well, they like to give the fans something to feel good about when really they should be, having better fire suppression systems around there or whatever. I'm no fire person, so I don't know for sure. But some things I think could have been done better. And, having your team win a game, I don't know that helps more than just makes the people feel happy, maybe.
Sure. No doubt. Our second game in the Pick Six segment features the Houston Texans, fresh off their opening round win against the Los Angeles Chargers. They will be on the road at Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs, the world champions. The Texans are 10-7. The Chiefs are 15-2. The spread, KC, is a -8. The over-under 41.5. This game is Saturday, 4:30 on ESPN ABC. It is the AFC divisional round. Wayne, what say you?
Well, I normally don't pick the Chiefs, but this time I am because I think they've got they're wanting to go to the Super Bowl. They're not going to get there, but they're thinking they're going to get there, and I think beating the Texans is part of their plan. And I don't think it's going to be that close of a game, and that's why I've picked Kansas City to cover those 8 points, and I'm thinking it's going to be over on that over under.
Yeah, Wayne, I'm with you on this one all the way. I'm definitely with you. I think the over is what I would take in this. I think Patrick Mahomes is laser locked in and focused and playing. I can't remember the last time that they were able to go through a playoff series or a playoff journey where the road to the Super Bowl actually went through Arrowhead.
Yep.
So being able to have them play at home is huge. Not only that, Mahomes' magic is as real as it gets. Now, listen, the Texans have done a great job. DeMeco Ryans is head coach. He's got that defense playing well. Will Anderson Jr. is wreaking havoc on the front side of that line, and of course, the Georgia product, Kamari Lassiter, and the rest of the gang in the back end doing well defensively for them. Joe Mixon, C.J. Stroud. You know, they've earned what they've earned, but it's a different beast when you're playing the world champions and you're playing them at Arrowhead. Not only that, but the Chiefs' defense has been lights out and locked in all season long. Long-winded answer just to say I'm going with the Chiefs as well. Chiefs will take care of that 8 points, and it won't even be – I ain't going to say it won't be close. I think it'll be about a 14 to 17-point game.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Wayne. I think the Chiefs are going to handle business. TC is taking the Chiefs to cover as well, and JJ is also taking the Chiefs to cover. So we all agree on that one. Let's go to our third game of the Pick Six. It is featuring the Washington Commanders at 12-5 at Detroit, going to Old Ford Field in Detroit. Pontiac, Lansing, Michigan, 15-2. The Lions are the number 1 seed in the NFC. This game is Saturday night, 8 o'clock on Fox. The NFC divisional round. Detroit is favored by 9.5. The over-under 55.5. Wayne, what you got?
I'm going to have to go with the Lions on this one. I picked the Commanders last week because I felt like they were going to, beat Tampa Bay. But I think that's it for them. I think the Commanders are finished. The Lions are moving on, and I look them to cover that 9.5. And that over-under looks pretty close to me. I don't think I'd mess with that. I don't know how they're going to score half a point, but they'll figure it out.
No, I'm with you. I don't know how they're going to score half a point either, but for me, out of the whole set, this was the most difficult game for me to pick. And the reason being is because I've seen Jaden Daniels get talked about how he can't help Washington get over X hump, over Y hump, over Z hump. And he continues for every obstacle that's placed in front of him. He continues to play lights out. I mean, it makes you forget that he's even a rookie doing this at this level. And I think what helps him the most is Dan Quinn's experience with the Atlanta Falcons and knowing some of the things that he made mistakes with in their Super Bowl run and teaching this unit, hey, there's some things that I know that I've learned from my past that I don't want to make these mistakes. You know, Detroit's offense has been top-notch all season long. Jared Goff has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC. Jahmyr Gibbs continues to do great things. Amon St. Brown and the rest of the receiving core there just doing wonderful things. As much as I want to pick the Lions, I'm actually going to pick the Commanders to cover that 9.5. I think this is going to be a closer game than what people realize. Even though Detroit's defense has not missed a beat even since Aiden Hutchinson's been out. I'm going to take the Commanders, man, to cover that 9.5, and they're not going to win, but I think it's going to be about a 4 or 7 point game. I do. Yeah. I think it's going to be a touchdown game or closer. TC and JJ both are going Lions to cover like you are, so that gives everybody a game to make up, and that takes us to our fourth game of the Pick Six. That is the Los Angeles Rams, fresh off of their victory, as we talked earlier in this segment, against the Minnesota Vikings. They are 10-7. They will make the trip to Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to face the Eagles at 14-3. This game will be Sunday at 3 o'clock on Fox. Philly is favored 5.5. The over/under 43.5. Wayne, what you think about this, bro?
Well, I think that the Eagles are going to win this game. But the one thing that I would like to see, or I would like to see the Eagles fans calm down some, especially when they win. But I get a feeling they're going to win this one too, and I would go over on that over/under because I think that's a little low for this game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a shootout.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a shootout where both teams are going to try to light them up. The one element to this is that I paid attention to here in the playoffs thus far is the teams that have been able to run the ball the best are the teams that have usually been able to win the football game. And there's no better runner here in the playoffs. Maybe one, but I would put Saquon 1B and Derrick Henry 1A, but those are probably the best two running backs in the playoffs going on.
Yeah.
And,
well, don't forget you got Gainwell as a backup too.
Well, yeah, you do. You do have him as a backup, and Detroit's got another one as a good backup as well. So you got several teams that just got good running backs, but running games are what's been winning here in the playoffs so far, except with the Buffalo even had almost 200 yards of rushing in their first playoff game. So long-winded answer, but I'm gonna tell you this: Jalen Hurts showed me some stuff in this first playoff game last week. I think he's back to being where he was coming off the concussion protocol. Saquon was doing Saquon things, but the Philly defense has been, the Georgia Eagles, as we call them, from Bulldog Nation, they've been playing lights out here lately as well. I'm going to take Philadelphia to take care of business at home. Go ahead and put the Rams out of their misery. It's been run. I know the script wants the Rams to make it to the Super Bowl because of what's going on in L.A.
Yeah.
I think the Hollywood script ends 3 o'clock, well, probably about 6:30, maybe 7 o'clock Sunday night there in Philadelphia. So give me the Eagles to handle business there. TC is taking the Eagles as well, and JJ is also taking the Eagles on that spread. So it will take us to game number 5. Game number 5, the Baltimore Ravens, led by who I think will be the MVP of the NFL, and Lamar Jackson going on his 3rd MVP run. At 12-5, we'll be headed to Highmark Stadium, Buffalo, New York, to take on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. They are 13-4. Baltimore is favored by a point. This is pretty much a pick 'em. Over under 51.5. Wayne, tell me what you got.
I'm going to have to go with Buffalo on this. I'm really wanting to see a Buffalo and Detroit Super Bowl, so that's probably going to steer some of my picks. This is a weird spread here, 1 point, so I think it's so useless. They should have just called it even.
Mm-hmm.
And these two teams are pretty much even, except for the fact that Bills are playing at home. Now, going back to the Kansas City having home field throughout the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to work in their favor if they have to play Buffalo, because I feel like Buffalo has beat them in Arrowhead Stadium before, haven't they?
I'd have to check my notes. I haven't seen it in a minute. I can go back and look at it, and I will check some of the records. As I'm trying to actually pull up some right now. But off the top of my head, I don't know. But I will make sure that by our next show, if they're still in the playoffs, I'll have that information for you, and I'll be able to spit those facts for you. Yeah. But
will they be facing each other if they both win?
If they both win, it will be the Bills will be at the Chiefs.
Yeah. All right. Well, see, that'll be some good info for the next show, because that'll add some spice to the soup.
Yeah, it will. It will. And we've seen this matchup just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen couldn't get it done in KC, but you're absolutely right. So Wayne, Baltimore, Buffalo, you're going with Buffalo.
Yep.
Buffalo it is. He's going with the Bills. Before I give you mine, I'm going to do backward this time. TC is taking Buffalo as well. JJ is taking Bills and the points. I saw this matchup last year, and I saw it in Baltimore, and I saw Lamar Jackson's running ability single-handedly defeat the Buffalo defense. This year, he's got some help, and he doesn't have to run as much. And Derrick Henry has been a force to be reckoned with. He put up almost 200 yards rushing against the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. Lamar doesn't have to throw the ball much. And the one element when you're dealing with what the weather may be calling for there in Buffalo, another 2 feet of snow.
Yeah.
If that's the case, you got the best 2 people in the world to be able to tote the rock. And that's in Lamar and in Derrick. And until I see somebody stop Derrick Henry under 150 yards rushing, I'm going to continue to pick Baltimore to do Baltimore things. So I'm going to take the Ravens.
All right.
I'm going to take it. I think they're going to win by at least a field goal. I even think they're going to win probably by a touchdown, but I'm going to give them at least a field goal.
Yeah.
But I do believe that Baltimore is going to win this game. Everybody else is picking the Bills. So if I go 0 for this week, everybody going to make up some ground this week. But
well, I don't think we have time to make up enough to overtake you. I think we're all fighting for who's going to be the runner-up at this point.
Oh, man. I'll give the records for everybody overall after we go through number 6 real quick. And
all right.
The 6th one here, and it's not a game, but it is a statistic. You could look, we don't have a particular quote unquote sponsor for this, but it's something that you would find on a parlay for maybe DraftKings or maybe even Prize Picks, but it is the over or the under 225 passing yards for Patrick Mahomes versus the Texans in their playoff game coming up on Saturday afternoon. Wayne, what you think Mahomes is going to do?
Every time that I have come across a over-under passing parlay or bet or whatever you want to call it for Mahomes, I've always picked the under and I've always won. So I'm not going to let that streak go. I'm picking under. I think it's going to be a lot more running.
You think it's going to be a lot more running?
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to go with everyone else. TC is predicting the over on Mahomes. JJ is predicting the over on Mahomes. And as I think about it, too, with the way the Texans defense plays, I think I'm going to take the over as well. And I thought about it when we first started talking, and I said I might do the under, but I think about it. 225 yards is not a lot for Patrick Mahomes. He's got one of his top weapons back in Isaiah Worthy. And he's going to be able to get, maybe I think he'll get some kind of rhythm going there. So Worthy's back. Hollywood Brown's back, so we don't know what Kareem Hunt may do out of the backfield, so he's got some wiggle room there. So I think he's got and we all know the Mahomes to Kelsey connection is going to be legit as it always is. And he'll have at least 75 yards receiving on Saturday as well. So after taking all of those things into account, I think he's going to be able to do the over as well. So I'm going to take the over to 225 passing yards for Patrick Mahomes, and as well as the win that they're going to get as well there at Arrowhead.
Yeah, I think that though I've seen Mahomes in the pocket before, and looking for passers and looking, and then he'll have the ability to run. And that's kind of what I'm counting on more now is for the Texans to have very good coverage, and he checks everybody and just has to either run it or think of something else. And that's kind of what I'm thinking will happen. I'm sure he'll connect on most of his passes, but I think for his option to be able to pass, he is smart enough to not pass into something that's risky or dangerous. And if you do rush him, then he's going to pick up his passing. So I got a feeling it's going to be less rushing on Texas and more coverage. And that's kind of why I feel like Mahomes is going to be the one advancing the ball in short situations.
There's going to be a lot of quarterback scrambling in your eyes for Patrick Mahomes on Saturday is what you envision.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that at all. And he's done that plenty of times to take KC to wins and victories in playoff seasons and playoff times. So nothing wrong with that at all. So that is going to wrap up our Pick Six segment. Our records going into today's or this week's Pick Six. Wayne is at 60 and 53 and 1. Of course, I'm throwing out the one because we all got the one.
Yeah.
He is in, let's see, how far are you behind TC? You and TC are actually tied for second.
Right.
Both of y'all are at 60 and 53. And the one, of course, so we're not going to do the one because every one of us has a tie. So you're at 60 and 53 in second place, tied with TC. JJ is at 55, 58. And then I'm leading the way with a 65 and 48. So if you follow my Pick Six segment throughout the year, you should have won a little bit of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
You won a little bit of money. You didn't end up broke. So if you stay with me, Wayne, or TC, you won some money. If you went with JJ, You might be on the verge of divorce.
Yeah,
But
but
I'll
see,
see.
I kind of know what JJ does. I think JJ plays to win a lot of times, and he'll think about, like taking the outside pick a lot more, and sometimes that works for him, and sometimes it doesn't.
No, that's with all of us, man. You think you'll outthink yourself, man. You'll
You're
get
right.
all the stats, you'll get all the info, you'll get all the data, and it will tell you everything that you need to know right in front of your face. And then you will still go the opposite because you just got a hunch. And
Yeah,
then hunches,
that's why I always tell people I pick more with my heart than my head, and that's
mm,
probably why I don't win very many of these type of deals.
no, man, that's what keeps it fun. At least we're not playing for money. Because
Yeah,
we're not look, if you need help gambling, go to gamblers out, what is it?
anonymous or something
Anonymous,
like that.
yeah, go
Yeah,
get you some help over there. Don't lose your money. It ain't worth it. Play for fun.
yeah.
Play for
I
fun and
wish
enjoy it.
when I was growing up, my dad used to always make shoe shine or car wash bets with people. And he was a
Hmm.
big Dallas Cowboy fan, so he always had people shining his shoes and washing his car for him.
Yeah, we do that along our lines too. It's more along like lunch,
Yeah.
snacks, things that's not going to put you in debt. So take advantage and be able to do things like that. So Wayne, you got a final thought for the night, my friend?
Not really. Just everybody stay safe out there. Watch as much sports as you can. Cheer for your favorite team, and keep your head on your shoulders, I guess.
No, listen, want you all to stay safe. We've been going here in the Southeast. We've been dealing with some weather challenges over the last week and a half, almost 2 weeks or whatnot. And you go from a week where it was almost 70, then you go into a snow in the next week. And then if everything goes the way it's predicting the week after next, you're talking single digit temperatures. So
Yeah.
look, make sure you stay safe, bundle up. Hey, and what I tell my team here for where my 9 to 5 job is, hey, mind your hand hygiene. Wash your
Yeah.
hands. Don't touch your face and eyes a whole lot. Sanitize when you can because the
Yeah.
flu and the RSV is going around bad.
Oh,
So,
look, and there I am touching my eye right now.
well, but at least you hadn't had no but contact with anybody else. You've been in your own room
Well, I don't know if that I did a lot of things today. I went
no.
to a show at a theater. A guy named I forget the guy's name, but the act is almost Elton John, and he
Okay.
performed a bunch of Elton John stuff. It's very cool. So I was out and about, but I do try to wash my hands before I eat, and that's my main thing, and to keep my finger out of my eye again.
Well, yeah, we're going to keep your fingers out of your eye. We want to keep you well and keep you on so you can help keep producing the episodes of this and keep producing good music. Because if you don't know our producer, Wayne, he is quite the musician. If you can't tell from the background and all the guitars and
Yeah.
musical equipment that he has there, but he is quite the instrumentalist. So,
Well, thanks for the shout out, man.
no, all the time, man. Look, give flowers while you're living. You can smell them right here.
Right.
My final thought, man, it's wrapped around the Atlanta Falcons. And it's a twofold final thought, and it's an A and B. So the Falcons come around the last few weeks, and that they put in Michael Penix, and they begin to put up points. So it tells me the offense is really not that have a problem. The defense is struggling, and they decide to fire Jimmy Lake.
Hmm.
The one constant that's been in this Falcons organization, regardless of the amount of coaches they've gone through, the coordinators that they've gone through, has been one Rich McKay. And I do believe because of the amount of trust that he's garnered in Arthur Blank's mindset and in his eyes, that whatever Rich McKay says is probably what Raheem Morris is going to do.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, sometimes you got to go with a guy that doesn't fit the narrative of your organization so that you can win. And I'll give you a prime example. The 1985 Chicago Bears is probably one of the most notoriable defenses ever in history.
Yeah.
And the complex mindsets and the complex behavioral patterns and attitudes of one Buddy Ryan, who was the
Yeah.
defensive coordinator, and head coach Mike Ditka, they were literally like oil and water. They did not mix, but the two of them together produced one of the best NFL football teams we have ever seen. Sometimes you got to have somebody on your staff that you can't stand, and they know a little bit more than you. They can help you get to the level that you're trying to get to. You cannot be a please everybody kind of guy all the time, because if you pay attention, guys who have walked that walk, and we'll talk about Andy Reid, who used to walk that walk in Philly and couldn't get it done with the big one. He learned his lesson. He got to KC. He surrounded himself with people who was as knowledgeable, if not more so than him, and look what he's got. on the verge of being the first NFL team ever to three-peat. Falcons, you got the opportunity to make a huge splash on your defense. Your offense is set. You got Drake, you got Bijan, you got Tyler, you got Kyle, and then even though people don't like Kyle Pitts, and you got Michael, you got what you need in place offensively to do what you need to do. Now you got to get some pieces on the defensive side to help you out, but you got to get a leader there that can lead them people so that the Falcons can finally get back to the playoffs and make another run towards the Super Bowl. For Wayne in Memphis, for Todd in Woodstock, for JJ and Lilburn, who are both on assignment, I'm Larry Gardner here in Adelsville, Georgia. Thank you so much for joining our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. As JJ always say, get you one.